Hey there, everybody. Let's see. We're starting exactly on time today. I'm trying to catch. Oh, wow, it's -4 in Minneapolis, huh? Not kidding around. Uh, welcome, everyone. My name is Andrew. I'm a mindfulness meditation coach, certified in the Unified Mindfulness System, a software engineer by trade and training. Most people will know me from the Do Nothing Project as a sometimes guest host and most times moderator in chat. How many N's can I say in that? Alliteration fun. Oh wow, wind chill -20. My dad used to always tease me that when it's -40, you don't need to say if it's Celsius or Fahrenheit. Which is a joke that you can usually only make in Minnesota, I think, to a large degree, or perhaps one of the polar regions. So what do we do on Wednesdays? We do a 25-minute sit. Usually it is some variation on a Unified Mindfulness technique, and then we compare and contrast that technique with the last 5 minutes of our 25 minutes being the do nothing technique, where we just kind of let go of that technique and just sit. So we have, over the last 6 of the last 7 weeks, we've done the do nothing technique for the entire duration of the 25-minute sit, minus the preamble at the beginning where I guide you through establishing the posture and sort of setting up. And so I thought I would do a bit of a technique that's referred to as shamatha vipassana, which you could put underneath the notion of a breath focus technique. So this would be the shamatha part is that that's a Tibetan. Well, it's the technique as a whole it comes from Vajrayana Buddhism. And shamatha is actually, I think, a Sanskrit term, and it means calm abiding. And the vipassana part, or vipassana, if you hear someone say it funny, it's not because they're trying to tell you about the Himalayas when people do that kind of thing. There's a Pali versus it's really vipassana versus vipassanas. I think it's Pali versus Sanskrit. Pali is like a pidgin language of Sanskrit, and it's what we believe the Buddha spoke, but it's not necessarily 100% because the early teachings weren't written down. They were transmitted as they were not written. They were transmitted from basically as a memorization or oral translation, which is, if you're ever wondering why they're always talking about 4 of this or 3 of that, or like the 8 this or something along those lines, at least from what I've heard from some of the scholars, is that was a bit of the anchoring for how they would memorize the actual whatever that teaching was. So you'll find things like the Eightfold Path, or 8 worldly winds, or the 4 noble truths, or 3 poisons, or 3 jewels. So there's always this joke. I'll say this as someone who was raised in the Catholic tradition. They always say that like Catholics love Mary and Buddhists love lists. It's the lists that are really what had been credited primarily for all of that. You don't need to know any of that. I'm offering this totally from a secular perspective, meaning you don't have to believe anything. But the training that I got for giving instruction in shamatha vipassana is from a Buddhist frame or a Buddhist perspective. So that's my other credential, I guess, is from the Open Heart Project, doing the training on that. So again, I'm not secretly turning you into Buddhists, but They've definitely got a lot of cool. I mainly make all these references so that you're kind of aware of the research and development, and then I say it partly because it helps me make sure that we're not grifting from other traditions and other cultures. So trying to acknowledge appropriately. So that's my framing. So again, I'm going to invite the bell. I'll give, in essence, from this technique, we think about it as giving instruction. So I will give instruction, and it will probably be, like a chunk of that beginning, and then I'll let you be sort of on your own. You're welcome to apply the technique or not apply the technique. A word of note is that I will offer guidance with eyes open. I know from feedback in the past, some folks will be distracted and struggle with the eyes open. So welcome to modify as you need. The keynote here, or I think Susan Piver would be remiss of me if I did not mention this, that the notion of meditating with eyes open is this idea that we are practicing formally being awake, or being relaxed and alert and awake to what is happening in our experience. And that's part of why we have eyes open. So I offer that now just so that you can prepare as needed. I think that's everything. I may not chit chat at the end as much because we have a few things going on this evening. And then I think most everybody is already on the mailing list, but I'm just gonna drop into chat a reminder that yeah, and then I apologize. I sort of hit the ground running and didn't say hi to everybody. So bonjour, Paul and Fred and Ruth and Bill B and everybody, Mike G. Sending warm thoughts to folks that are starting to feel the deep freeze. But yeah, so you're welcome to send an email to that to that address, and I'll add you to the reminder. The reminders I've been sending out mainly on Wednesdays. Today, I think I totally spaced out getting a reminder up on Instagram. So I'm still trying to get things automated, but right now everything's quirky and inconsistent. Yeah. All right. I think that's everything. So I've got our time. So we got 25 minutes on the clock. All right. And seeing if I can match the soft sonic tones from last week. All right. So really beginning with establishing our posture. I'm going to focus on the seated posture. So if you're seated in a chair or on a cushion, really beginning with establishing your feet on the floor, if possible, flat on the floor. Really allowing the body to kind of be upright, supported by your chair or your cushion. And really kind of relaxing down and into the support of the chair, the cushion. Not feeling like you have to maintain or hold an efforting sort of stance. And the hands are open and flat on the thighs. Just Checking in with the shoulders, making sure they're down and away from the ears. And then even kind of seeing if it feels comfortable to have the shoulders down and back. And raising through the crown of the head, slightly tucking the chin, allowing the back of the neck to be long. The jaw is closed, the lips are parted if you want. Eyes are open, as I mentioned. And the gaze is cast down. And really just allowing the gaze to sort of land indiscriminately on whatever is in front of you. Almost like there's a blended quality to what you're looking at. And then finally, turning towards the breath. And we could say that we're focusing on the breath, but we're not just passively focusing on the breath, we're feeling the breath. In and out through the nose, letting the breath be natural, not controlling it. And we might feel like we're kind of in a situation where thoughts will bubble up. And if we allow them to just continue to float, not glomming onto them, can remain in contact with the breath. And only when you really kind of notice that it's been a while since you've been in contact with the breath, kind of noticing, oh, I was drawn away by a line of thought. Finally, really just giving yourself enough space to acknowledge that, sort of not pushing away the thought. Label the thought as thinking, if that helps. And then come back to the breath. And that pattern of being drawn away, realizing it, acknowledging it, labeling, and then coming back to the breath can happen as many times as it needs to. And that's really the dance of this technique. So we'll sit together in quiet, practicing, and you'll know the time is done when I ring the bell. Super soft. And so we do a dedication of merit at the completion of a Shamatha Vipassana sit. May the fruits of our practice be for the benefit of all beings. May our actions be for the benefit of all beings. Thank you for your practice. Thank you for giving me a chance to do a little bit of variety here. For the dedication of merit, you probably hear me do some variation of that at times. I'm one of those sort of quirky in the Enneagram. I'm like a social 4, so I don't like to do things exactly the same way every time. So it's good to see that the quirky inconsistency is Ruth pointed out, puts that in some folks' wheelhouse. Cool. Good to hear that the sit was good for some. So, like I said, I wasn't going to spend too much time, but just a really quick, since we did so much with do nothing, I thought it would be interesting to pair a heavier technique at the beginning. Like, hopefully there was a lot of spaciousness for you to be able to apply the technique on your own. And you can start to see the kind of ways that we can pair various practices to kind of where we're at a given point in time. So thank you. And you're super welcome, Moria. It's great to have you back. And then hello to Brian Sweeney and Saban, Colette as well. I think I have not said maybe I said hi to Fred. Hopefully I did. But yeah, so really appreciate that. Thanks for everyone that's watching the recordings. I see the bump every week on that. So thank you to that. If you're subscribed to the channel, you know that I made good on the promise of the Wabi Sabi clock. So there is a 25-minute sit of just the Wabi Sabi clock audio. I mic'd it with a lapel mic at the actual clock mechanism. And then I overlaid a bell, actually 3 bells at the beginning and 1 bell at the end. That's the traditional Zen. You have 3, you invite the bell 3 times to signify the start of a sit, and then 1 bell signifies the end of a sit. So that is up and out. And so I've noticed that it's gotten a good number of views already. So thank you for checking that out. And then thank you to Bill and to Ruth. And I was just going to say, in case you hadn't seen it, I was going to link it here, Paul. So we'll get you that. So when I say up, I'm being lazy. It's on the YouTube channel for the YouTube channel here, and that's where you can find it. So you should be able to find it if you search Wabi Sabi Clock or Wabi Sabi Clock Meditation on YouTube. That should give you the hit. At least the other day when I put it up, I tagged it. And I think that's a way for you to have that. So I mention this because next week's technique, we're going to play around with a Shinzen classic, which is Just Note Gone. And the reason I mentioned this is because while I was meditating with the Wabi Sabi clock as my background noise, I noticed that I was very much punctuating with the fact that you will hear the clock just sort of stop at certain points. And so there's like sort of a mechanical, like a tick, and then like you can hear kind of the gears, and then there's like this drop out of the sounds. And I started noting these points where it was dropping out, and I realized, oh yeah, this is an opportunity to do a variation of hear out, so HEAR, so sounds, and then we're looking for the end of things. So I think it's really, really interesting. I have given it in the past and then had some folks say it was kind of confusing. So we'll see if I can tune up my explanation a bit. But when Shinzen was asked if he could teach just one technique, I think his answer now is see, hear, feel. But when he was asked to write an article for, maybe it was Tricycle, or I think it was Tricycle, but I will have that noted by the next time we talk next week. He gave the answer, just note gone. I think this was like 2007. Maybe it's more like 2011. 2011, 2012 timeframe. Shinzen evolves his techniques over time. So since I first sat with Shinzen in 2012, he's had different sort of framings for a lot of things. The fact that unified mindfulness exists now, there's a little more stability in the tinkering. Isn't as high, but there's still an area where Shinzen is always kind of tinkering with the techniques and the phrasing and terminology. So that's what we're headed to next week. And then to finish the year out, we'll go back to the random draw deck. That's at least my plan. So next week, just note gone. And then we'll go back to the draw. We'll shuffle in. I'll pick some techniques. We'll shuffle them, and then we will do whatever the card comes up. So when it's sea flow, we'll do sea flow, since that seems to be the card that comes up the most for us. But yeah, that's where we're headed. And then for those that don't get my email reminder, I posted a little bit about, I've been doing some stuff where I'm reviewing like things I liked this year, audiobooks, stuff like that. And I'm playing around with trying to get some of that year in review things onto Substack. So I know some of you have subscribed to my Substack. I think it's called Something right now. Some dash thing is a play on nothing, the Do Nothing Project. It's not a very insightful play, but a play nonetheless. And so the Why We Remember is the book that I noted this time, and I thought it was a really, really interesting book. And then I've noticed now it's making the list on a number of people's what their favorites were, I guess. So maybe I'm a little more sheepishly admitting that now I'm pushing this out because I know everybody else liked it too. I hope that's not why, but human nature, maybe perhaps that's what it is. So look for that, and then I'll be in chat on Sunday. All right. Have a great rest of your week. And if you're in Australia, have an excellent Thursday. And we'll see you on Sunday.